Hey everybody, my name is Andrew Davis and you are watching Conversations in Pop Culture. And yes, I am scandalous like an Ashley. And I do want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by Pocket Jack Comics. And they are coming to local comic stores near you. And you can check out preview copies of their sexy comics, Guinevere and the Divinity Factory and Palace of the Golden Princess, all at pocketjackcomics.com. And if you sign up for their email list on the website, you can get a free preview PDF copy of their books right to your email. Open it up, read it before you buy it, and then go to your comic store and bug them to order some so you get those covers. And they are really fantastic covers. But enough about that, because I have with man.
Oh, hey, sorry, yeah, you cut out there for a second.
No. Welcome to the show.
Oh, hey, yeah, thanks. Glad to be back. It's been a minute. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to be back.
Yeah. You got a lot going on. Obviously, you've done a lot of work for a bunch of different books. I think the last time we spoke was Born of Blood. That was at Merck, and I don't know if that wrapped up or it's on hiatus. But obviously, since then, you've worked on a bunch of stuff with, Murad and a few other people. I think you did some Red Sonja stuff as well. And then it's Pray for the Sinner, I think, is kind of the last one that you worked on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Born of Blood, the main story wrapped up after 6 issues, and then after that, I think the majority of the Merck line got put on hiatus. So I don't know if anything's going to happen with those titles. Unfortunately, I had another story to tell for Born of Blood, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I've been busy with Murat working on. We had a call last week. There's another project he gave, we were working on with him, so it's like up to 6 now. I'm going to be working on with him. And I love it.
Yeah, because the two that I know is, I think, Baby Candy. I think it is, or is it Candy Baby? I forget. I always get the things mixed up. That you did 1 and 2, and I think 2 just
Zombie Baby.
Again, maybe it's like, I'm really bad at names. It's been a long Tuesday, everybody. It's been a long Tuesday. But I know you wrapped up that, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But the one that's kind of on the docket, I think, is Pray for Sinner, number 6, which I think is the conclusion of this. So, and you were brought on, I think, to that series somewhere in the middle, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, right toward the end. Yeah, and there's some stuff. I'm trying to figure out what I can and can't say about Pray for the Sinner. Let's just say,
before we get too deep into it, what is the basic premise? Because there's people who are hearing about this for the first time. There's people saying, what the hell is this? And who's Dolan? So, there's all those questions. So I kind of want to catch everybody up on what Pray for Sinner is before we dive into some of the story and a little bit of maybe a little behind the scenes stuff, as well as so people could actually go pick it up on Kickstarter.
Okay, so basic elevator pitch of Pray for the Sinner is, I spit on your grave in space. There you go. That's what it is. And if you're not familiar with I Spit on Your Grave, it was a very exploitive film from the 1970s, a revenge film. Something horrible happens to a woman. She gets her revenge on her attackers, and it's pretty much that premise, but in space. And I brought some similar sensibilities to my writing from Born of Blood to this, and I like to think we're going to be adding a lot of deeper layers to the story now, and I cannot wait for people to check this out because it is awesome.
Yeah, so obviously, it's basically, Sin is, Cynthia Sin Kemp is the main character, and she's basically trying to track down somebody who she wants to get revenge on, and there's bounty hunters involved, and a bunch of other people are involved. The authorities are also kind of involved, and it's who can kill who first, as well as who could catch who first, and can she kill the person she wants to kill and get revenge before the authorities catch up to her or catch up to him and deprive her of that. And it's that whole game of figuring out how to do it. And I don't want to dive too much into the plot twists and turns of the whole thing, because I want people to actually read it. But what was this like? Because obviously, I think you came in, I don't know if you came in at 4 or 5 on this book, because I think you came in as assisting with scripts and assisting in writing. And what was that like? Because there's been, I think, 3 or 4 issues before you came in, and then coming in as a writer to help, I guess, parse out scripts and make it better and pump it up and really get it to where it needed to be. And I'm hopefully not disclosing anything too hard here, but what is that like for you? Because it's interesting, I think, when somebody comes into a project.
Yeah, you're right. It is interesting to come in more or less, you're halfway through something and you're asked to help out. And I'm like, absolutely, I'd love to. And because I remember when Marat came to the store with Dietrich Smith, they were promoting the first issue. And I was blown away by it. And years ago, but then he asked me to come on board with this. I was shocked and surprised and amazed because I said, yeah, absolutely. And then thankfully sent me the PDFs. So I try to read the stories, the scripts, to understand the characters a good 3 to 5 times each issue, 3 to 5 times, and to figure out what I think about it. And then I relay my thoughts and beliefs to Marat. And he said, yeah, you got it. You pretty much nailed it down. That's pretty much what it is. I'm like, all right, great. And I would add captions and dialogue, just new things, trying to get into the head of the character, like their thoughts, their beliefs, their motivations, why they did what they do, why they're doing what they do, and what events caused those beliefs to change. Adding that other layer, the subtext of these characters, and it's been a lot of fun. It's challenging, like you said, coming in halfway through a project, but it's been fun at the same time. I had a blast assisting writing with this character. She's a great character.
Let me ask this, because obviously, if you come in on issue 3, 4, and then you're really building out 5 and 6. I mean, you can't change certain things that happened prior.
No, the art is done. The art is completely done. So I'm coming in after the fact. Yeah.
So I mean, because that's also a whole different thing too, is that you're coming in and the art's done. So now you can't really move things around unless something is really wrong. I'm assuming something is really wrong in a book. It's like, we need you to redo the page, right? But what is that like to even figure out, hey, I'm kind of stuck, because it's kind of like dubbing an anime. You can't, once an anime is being brought over, you can maybe move a word or two around, but you can't change a scene. You have to match the movement of the mouth. Pretty close.
No, you're right.
Half a second versus something like F is for Family, where the voicing is done first and then it's built around the voice. And I don't know if Family Guy is done the same way, where it might be where they voice first and then they build around the voice, which is a whole different way how to do it. So, and I don't know how Born of Blood was done or anything else you've worked on, but if you write the script and then you're handing the art in, that's a different game too.
Yeah. So for Born of Blood, it was going from my scripts to the art team. So that's how it's traditionally done, every issue. And but for this, like I said, this is the opposite way. This is the pages are done, and I'm having to fill out the captions. And there were 1 or 2 times where I would say to myself, I would have changed this around. I probably would have suggested changing this. I would have done to fix this, but not too many. But fortunately, most of the art was really, really good. And I did like it. It's very action-packed. It's a very kinetic story, which is great. And I like those types of stories. And I like to think that the captions and dialogue that I added to the story, to the script, it really pumped it up. It really, you are very much compelled to follow this lead character in Sen and to root for her and her journey to hopefully get her revenge.
And then to even go further into that too, I mean, obviously once this is done, I mean, obviously you have Murad in there. I think you have Ryan Kincaid is in there. I think there's a few other people whose names I'm missing, and you know the book better than I do. But what is that like too? Because you have really, really good art. And I think that helps to some degree as well, because I mean, I don't know how you read comics, but obviously it's words and pictures, and it's the combination of the two. And so when you have really good art, I feel like sometimes you don't need as many words. Or if something is missing in a script on a word level, I can kind of get the gist of where it's going. And so I don't know if it also helps too, because I've only seen a few pages of this, but it doesn't seem like a wordy comic.
No, it not really. I mean, there are some panels where there will be words, and everything, but it's kind of more or less. I kind of going into this accepting like some people may may be jumping in on this a little later than usual. They may not have read the first few issues, so there's some things early on summarizing what's happened, how they got to this point. But there's not much, not a whole lot, you know. I like to make sure it's very kinetic and it's not boring, because I like you, I agree. A comic book is a visual medium. That's what it is. It's a visual medium. You can't deny that. And you should be able to tell the story as well as you can. I mean, the capture the dialogue does help, but you should be able to tell the story with the art. And I like to think that the art does a great job of telling the story as well. And the caption dialogue ad give it a more introspective look into what's going on, as well as with the characters and their relationships. But yeah, I agree. It's a very much visual medium, and the art should be doing a good portion of the storytelling.
So let me ask a question to go further into this, because I think it's interesting. Have you ever read a comic that had no words in it?
Yeah, I've read some silent issues. Yeah, some have worked, some haven't. There's a famous G.I. Joe silent issue that's great, and I know Marvel did the like early 2000s did like it was like the Nuff Said editions, where it was like for like a month or so they did like silent issues, and there was a great Punisher silent issue that they did. But yeah, some work brilliantly, some not so much. But yeah, you should be able to tell the story as well as you can without dialogue.
I read this book, and it was about little baby dinosaurs, and it was a bunch of little stories about it. Adorable book. And it was by this girl, Emily So. It was her first book, and she's like a graphic designer and beautifully illustrated. And what was great is that you have like the mother duck trying to wash her three little like baby T-Saurus Rex, and like they're in the bathtub, and like they got like a little rubber ducky, and you can feel the emotion in every single panel of how difficult it is for this T-Saurus Rex and this T-Rex washing her troublesome little like toddler of a dinosaur. And the point is that I think it's an excellent book to explain that everybody gets the story of that issue, even in those 3 or 4 panels, because, okay, I don't need words anymore, and words will only make this worse. And I think it's a real skill to be able to do that and understand where enough dialogue is said on a page, and when there isn't enough dialogue, when you need to put it in, because I hate to say this, but too much dialogue can ruin it, and a lack of dialogue can also ruin a book very quickly. Much like
you have to. I 100% agree. You got to know where it belongs. It doesn't belong everywhere. There'd be certain points where it is warranted. I agree, and I like to think we did a good job with that with Born of Blood and other issues. And I like to think we're doing a good job of that here in Pray for the Sinner. That being said, yeah, I do love. There's one silent. It's not necessarily a silent issue, but one along what you just mentioned about the dinosaurs but it was Steve Bissett's Tyrant, where you follow the life of a dinosaur essentially from its birth to its full growth. And it's not necessarily a silent issue, but there's some captions and everything. But it's a great comic that Steve Bissett did.
I don't know this book, so I'm gonna have to look into it.
Yeah, it's great. And and also what you brought up, I do agree that too much dialogue can kill the book. And look, I mean, we all love Chris Claremont, but I mean, when he wanted he literally wanted every Uncanny X-Men issue to be like My Dinner with Andre. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that, Chris. It's not. I'm sorry. It's a great film, but it doesn't work in an action publication. And James Tynion.
I don't know how you feel, and I'm going to put you on the spot, and this is probably the most controversial we're going to get here. I hate Scott Snyder's and Jeff Lemire's 80 After Death. I hate that book. Not because I hate the concept. I hate the book because we get 6 pages of comics, and then we get 3 pages of prose, and it defeats the purpose of having a comic book. I thought it was lazy. I thought it was lazy.
If you want to write a novel, write a novel. If you want to write your novel, it's not a comic book.
Why did you showed me a bunch of stuff, which is what a comic does, and then you told me a bunch of stuff. And I had a professor, Paul Levitz, was saying you should show, not tell. And you know who Paul Levitz is, right?
Oh yeah, legend. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm in college, and then he's teaching a class, and he's explaining show, not tell. I don't need you to tell me in 3 pages what would have taken you legitimately 20 pages of doing comics, and you're just trying to fit it in. I get that, but it bothered me unbelievable because that's where too much dialogue fucks up a book. Because it's not even dialogue anymore. You're giving me prose in a comic book.
Yeah, at that point, it's a novel. You know what? Write a novel. That's what you want to do. It's like so many of these. I really feel like so many of these writers in the industry, they just want to be novelists, or they don't want to be comic book writers. They want to work on Netflix. They want to write scripts. It's like, you know what? Go write your scripts. Go write TV scripts. Go write novels. Get out of comics if you don't like comics. You're not, because clearly you're not interested in telling a fun, kinetic, action-based story. I mean, look, I understand there's different types of stories for comic books and all that, but I really truly believe, for me, great comic books invoke action, being kinetic, and have some horror elements too. It really provoke you, to really shock you and awe you. That's what comic books should do. Get your attention.
So let's actually talk about this, because we probably spoke with this, and I probably spoke about this with a lot of people, is that I think a bunch of people are writing a comic book to pitch it to Netflix, Hulu, Disney, Peacock, wherever else you want to put it, Sony, whatever major individual. And I know so many people in comics who have an agent. And my response to that is there's nothing wrong with saying, I understand that the real money is in my project getting optioned. Because when an option gets renewed and then you go from 20,000 and then 3 years later they want to renew it again for 40,000, I get all that. And I understand I'm entering dangerous territory here. I'm not going to dismiss that if your book gets optioned. That's great. But there also gets a point where I feel people are just trying to do that instead, where they're using a 6-issue position to say, I want this to get optioned, and then I move on to the next one. And if it gets made, great. And if it doesn't, great. But I want to get my option check. And I think that if you go into something that way, it's a problem. I never went into this show thinking I was going to get sponsors or get paid to do anything, or people wanting to advertise on my show. I said, I just want to interview and build up my brand, and it would be nice. But the thought of money 10 years later was never at the start of it. I just wanted to interview people. When I first did it, to get to talk to my childhood heroes. And I think that's where part of the problem is with comics, is that I don't even know if it's good business and people are focusing on the business. I think they're focusing on the cloud, saying, I got a Netflix deal.
Yeah, I really truly believe that there's a lot of that. I hate to say it, there are a lot of bad apples in the industry, who are really using this as a springboard to something quote unquote bigger than the comic book industry, and that's not me. And like, I've loved comic books since I was in grade school, first grade. And this is I truly love it, and I'm not doing this to be a millionaire. If I do want to be a millionaire, great. What do you flip and do? That wasn't my plan. And if anyone were ever to say, like, if something were to happen to any of the books I worked on, if they did get turned into something else, that was not my plan at all, any way, shape, or form whatsoever. I wanted to tell my stories. I wanted to work with Aurelio. I wanted to work with Andre Lunatic. I wanted to work with Marat. I wanted to tell some kick-ass comic books, because we can still do it. They're not being told right now. And I feel like it's up to guys like me, Marat, Aurelio, to really tell these kick-ass stories. And I feel like we can do this. And I don't want to leave this medium. I love this medium. I love comic books. And I hate it when I read or see like creators are using this just as a springboard for Hollywood. You know what? Get out of here. Leave. You don't belong here. Your heart's not in it.
Do you also feel, you mentioned something about, how stories aren't being told anymore in a certain way. An action-packed, story isn't being told, or quote-unquote superhero stories that I feel from 2006, or even the 90s, or even the 80s. I'm a big Teen Titans fan. I don't think we're ever going to get 80s Teen Titans back ever again in that storytelling in a fun way where, okay, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 issues link up, but then you don't start all over, but they're on a new mission. Or you get 6, issues that somewhat connect, but then after issue 7 is a new jumping on point, and they go on another thing, but it's an overall arc of this group of Teen Titans evolving from issue 1 all the way up. And then in that process, what is it? Issue 44 of the new Teen Titans, Robin becomes Nightwing and all that stuff. So you get the evolution. The wedding issue is issue 100. Oh, it's good. I have all these issues. It's terrible. I spent a lot of money on this. I have
those are great. That's a great series. That's a great run. Great creators working on that. I can't fault you for that. That's awesome.
I spent way too much on my DC Presents number 26. Great book. It's a 7.5, and it's gone up nicely. It's a personal book. I'm a huge Teen Titans fan, so it makes sense. But
yeah,
I'm looking for a 9.8, but it's expensive now.
I'm sure.
I'm waiting for the economy to crash. That's terrible. So bad, so bad. But why do you think we're not getting good stories? Because I don't know. I mean, is it that people are just shitty writers? Because let's table Marvel and DC. To me, producing a comic book has never been easier, and there's more access to capital to do it. There's nobody telling you can't do it. But is the problem that, I mean, again, I understand the Marvel and DC problem. And there's a reason why I'm asking it to table that for 20 seconds, but you could answer the question anyway if you however you want. But is it that people are bad at writing? Is it that there's issues of making money here with this? Or is it that everybody wants to win a Ringo Award, and you're not going to win a Ringo Award by creating a superhero team that's just fun comics? I mean, I'm curious what you think, because I know what I think, but I don't think anybody wants to hear what I think on this issue yet.
I will say you are right. It's never been easier to produce a comic book. You are 100% correct there. All the tools are there. You find it. You're gonna find someone who can help you along the way to set up your own comic to get it all done.
I'm just going to interrupt you. I want to clarify one. I didn't say a good comic book. I said a comic book.
Okay. Yeah. No, you're right. A comic book. Yeah. It's true.
I'm joking. I'm sorry. It was too easy. It was no hate for it. Continue.
And I also believe that you are right, that there are a lot of writers involved in the industry who are not writers, who should not be writing. I think a lot of them have gotten in through nepotism or friends who clearly don't have the talent or the skill set to really tell a story, and which is a shame. I mean, yeah, and it's said like anyone can write a comic, but not everyone should write a comic. And I had a friend. Unfortunately,
I had a friend who did well. A friend of mine put it really well. He said, "There's a lot of people there's a lot of people doing a lot of things, but very few people are professionals." Meaning that the way I run this show, I like to run it as professionally as I possibly can, and I treat it like a job. There are plenty of people who think, "Oh, it's an interview show. If I don't show up, no worries." And I'm like, wait a second. I treat this in a very professional way, that if you say you're going to be here, I reserved your spot, and it should be treated in the same way. And I think, in comics and in a lot of areas, there's a lack of professionalism, where I think a lot of people are doing things in comics, but they're not wanting to be a professional comic writer. It's kind of like being a professional wrestler. Being a professional wrestler means you are earning and treating your job suplexing somebody, or we could call it fake fighting, whatever you want to call it. Sorry to ruin it.
Yeah.
Sorry to ruin it, guys. But you show up to your job or your venue. You show up an hour earlier before them when you're supposed to be there. You clean up the ring. You treat people in a professional manner. And I think that's part of the problem right now.
No, you're right. I mean, there are a lot of people who love the kayfabe. There are a lot of people who love getting out there, who love shooting their mouth off, saying they're doing this, saying they got this, I got that. It's like, okay, that's great. Have you written the comic book yet? Are you actually going to do it? Are you going to sit down and put in the time to do it? Or are you going to sit down and write the next one and the next one and the next one? Are you going to put in the time and effort to do it, to actually care about what you're doing instead of just shooting your mouth off? No, you're right. I mean, a lot of people are more concerned about, the optics, of looking famous instead of actually putting in the damn work. And it's like, I love putting in the work. And you ask Marat has to tell me to slow down, because I'm a Ferrari in high gear just going. And like, he's like, all right, we got it. He's like, we got everything. He's like, hey, cause I work so far ahead, playing things out. He's like, okay, you need to ease back. We're good right now. It's like, okay. All right. But
it's interesting this up, because I'm the exact opposite, where people are making me the center of attention. I'm like, I don't want to be the center of attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really get it. And then all of a sudden I'm just like, okay, I mean, how the hell did this happen? And I don't want to be the center of attention. And again, I just want to go do my job, make my money, and then go home and build my business and do what I do. And I don't really get it where I'm not interested in the drama. I have no desire for drama. I don't have time for it. It's expensive. It's expensive.
It's a personality type. Certain personalities, they love drama. I don't get it. It's not for me. And they thrive on it. And I never want to be a part of that. I want to stick my head in my computer or my notebook to carry around with me. I write down all my ideas wherever I go, write down my stories. And I want to be writing stories. That's what I love doing. And
so let me ask you this:
the fact that I get paid to do it, it's even better. But I never want to be accused of phoning anything in. I want to show, like, every story I do, I'm working my ass off on it. It's just because I can tell now when a writer is phoning it in. I can tell instantly when a writer didn't even try. And it's very, we said we're not going to talk about the big two, but it's very clear with the big two, with a lot of these writers who are phoning it in. And it's a shame.
No. I haven't read a DC comic or a Marvel comic in probably a year and a half. So I wouldn't even know. Because I have no desire to touch any of their work. I don't, because I don't think it's good, and I don't think they deserve my $4 or $5 or $6. I don't really think they deserve my $6. And I could go to Dunkin' Donuts and get my sweet tea and a donut.
1 second. Sorry.
Wait, what'd you say? I don't know what just happened. Oh no, I don't know what just happened. Awkward turtle. I don't know what just happened. Something else just happened. I don't know. Confused.
Sorry, man. I can't hear you. Sorry. Trying to fix it.
Oh, no. You're good. Awkward turtle. It's all right.
I don't know what happened. My speakers just cut off on me.
Oh, do that. Let me do this. And then let's see. Technical difficulties. There should be.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, here we go. Now we're back.
No. I was just saying, I haven't read Marvel and DC in like a year and a half because they don't deserve my $6 every single week or every single month. And I used to order comics from like comic shops. Haven't done that in almost a year and a half. And because, again, a lot of the stuff that I was reading was horrible. The only book that I thought was okay was Saga. And even that was becoming a pain in the ass to read. Because after a while, like, I thought like the first part and how the first part ended was great. And then I was like, this is getting a little ridiculous. And I feel like Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples lost the point of Saga. Where
it helped that they had a long lag in between issues. And I really feel like a lot of that magic got lost in that lag.
Yeah, well, maybe you should not have been writing the Gundam movie. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. I joke because that thing looks, from what I hear and the rumors, it's supposed to be really good. And I'm rooting for them because I'm a Gundam fan. But yeah, I read like the first 6 issues after the break, and I'm like, the first part of Saga was brilliant from start to finish. Those 54 issues were great. And then 55 to 60, I'm just like, I can't do this book anymore. And I'm sorry, like, it's not even that it's poorly written. It's just that, like, this story has changed dramatically.
Yeah,
and
I
not
remember.
in a good.
Yeah, I remember. I wasn't a fan. Yeah, when it changed, and I picked it back up. I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I was. This is a false bill of goods. This is not what I want.
I mean, I have a Saga 1 and a 9.6 signed by Brian Gavone from the Staples.
Very nice.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful book. It's a CBCS first print. Yeah.
Wow. Very nice.
So it's CBCS signature authenticated. It's still an expensive book and it's still a beautiful book. But it's a personal book. I was just lucky where it was just I picked it up and it came good. I pressed it. It's a beautiful book. But yeah, no, that's my only book that I care about still, because I will eventually pick that thing up in graphic novel format and I will finish that series because I'm curious what they're going to do. But at the same time, they lost me, and that was the last holdout for me.
Well, you're not the only one. I mean, they lost a lot of fans. They lost a lot of readers. I mean, you're not the only one who thought like, okay, this is not good. This is not what we wanted. This is the magic has been lost. Yeah, and I think a lot of the fan base has said that.
So to even go further into this, because I'm curious, is that because obviously Pray for Sinners is on Kickstarter, and I get a lot of comics now from Kickstarter, or I will digitally get them, and or I'll go into the back bins, or I have a Comixology subscription. And so, I am curious how you feel about that, because I think a lot of people also say, look, I'm willing to try a Kickstarter for a lot of reasons. A, the stories are uncensored. Because if I don't need a publisher to publish my book, I could put whatever the hell I want to put in my book. I could write whatever I want to write in there, and I could do something in a very niche, obscure, and I could curse, I could use whatever dialect, whatever language, I could put whatever characters in there. And so I feel you get more authentic stories. And on top of that, there's also a closer relationship between creator and fan. And I feel like I can actually talk to a creator. And maybe it's because I'm an interviewer and I'm fortunate enough that I interview a lot of people who are doing Kickstarters. So I get to actually know who's creating the book. And maybe the average fan doesn't have that luxury. But even still, I think an average fan could be like, hey, you're on Facebook, really liked your book. And you could kind of have a conversation with the creator, especially a new creator on Kickstarter. So I'm curious, because that's where I think the shift is going. I'm curious how you feel about that shift.
Yeah, it is. And crowdfunding is, pun intended, it has gotten crowded. Kickstarter, apparently, when we launched Unholy Nightmare back in October, apparently that was the most comic book projects Kickstarter had ever had in recorded history at one point in October last year. And so we had the unfortunate luck of launching it during that time period. But because people have seen the success, that people have had on Kickstarter. And I think, like you said, that the capability of producing a comic, whether it's good or bad, has gotten significantly easier. And a lot of them are just putting something out there, just hoping to maybe break even or turn a profit. And I don't think it's going to ease up anytime soon. I really don't. But we'll see what happens if those creators are coming back for a second issue, to do a second or third issue, or a fourth, or a fifth, or a sixth. Because I'll tell you right now, with Unholy Nightmare, I just started the 11th issue right now. I'm working on the script for the 11th issue. I'm just steamrolling. I'm going right through the story. I want to tell a kick-ass story, and I'm not easing up.
There's like three things I want to talk about. So I don't know if I agree with you on the easing up on Kickstarter, because I think it's actually going to ease up tremendously. And here's my thought process, and I'm curious how you feel about this, is I think that during COVID, a lot of money was cheaper, where money was at a 0% interest rate. So it was free money. You could borrow as much money as you want. And from $100 all the way up to like 10 million was completely free. And a lot of people bought houses pretty cheaply and a bunch of other stuff, bonds and corporate business bonds and U.S. treasuries were relatively low, and now they're high again. And also a lot of people working from home or were only in their office one day a week. So
yeah,
weren't necessarily putting gas into their car 4 days a week, and now they might be putting gas into their car 3 days a week versus one. or, the gas they put in their car, the gas in their car twice instead of once. So I think a lot of money is actually left. And I also think that there's more expenditure. I think people have less time to consume product. And I also think that you have concerts, bars are open. We're heading to the summer, cons are back. And so I actually think there's less money. And from what I've heard from people, also a lot of people might have higher backer counts, but the value of that backer has also decreased because a lot of people are buying digital now. And so that's great that you're buying digital, but that means your profit margin's down. So I don't know if we're going to have the same steamroll, because if you were expecting to do, you did 8 and you're expecting a 20% increase, but now the landscape has changed where you're doing a 10% increase. You might space out your Kickstarters instead of doing them every quarter to every, 4 months and so on, because you need more time to pump in more money, or you have to go at a slower rate to cash flow it. So I don't know if it's going to be what you think it's going to be, because what I see is I think money's going to get a lot tighter, which means that speed, I think that there's still going to be a lot out there. I don't know if there's going to be the tsunami is still coming for a second wave.
So no, this is where I do agree with you, because I want to make sure my point was clear on that. But it's that, I do believe money has gotten tighter. It absolutely has gotten tighter. But I do believe that's not going to stop people from producing a comic book on Kickstarter. Whether those are going to be successful or mega successful, I don't know. I think a lot of them may just be lucky to break even. But it's not going to stop them. But as far as it being mega successful 6-figure campaigns, no. I think a lot of those are going to be disappearing pretty quick, if there were that many. There weren't that many. But
break even is not. When you say break even, you mean reach their goal.
Reaching the goal, yes.
Because that's not breaking even. I don't think a lot of campaigns break even until issue 3. If you're lucky, reaching your goal. And also there's reaching your goal, and then there's reaching your real goal, which is another grand over your goal. But you put your goal at $2,000 when you need 3. And I think we're getting into a bunch of problems, and that's why people are late. Is I think somebody needs $3,000, they raise $2,500, they're $500 short. And so it's going to take them another 2 months to find that extra $500 off of the campaign. And I think that's partially why we're late. I think things are just slowed down. I think printing's a nightmare. And I think that's my whole thing. So, I mean, again, though, I think it's harder than ever, though, in a lot of ways, where you have all the tools, but you also have to stand out.
Yeah, you do have to stand out, absolutely. And one thing I do as a publisher and creator now myself, one thing it does staying. I mean, look, I love Aurelio to death. He's my brother, but not biologically, but at this point we're like brothers. It's just he is so detailed, but he takes his time. It's kind of frustrating at times. So it's like, come on, we got to go, man. We got a deadline. We got to keep these pages coming in. So it's like, I told him our goal is to be delivered on time. We are not going to be late. I told him we are not, and it's not going to happen. I don't care what we got to do. It's going to get finished on time. But that, like we brought up earlier before we went live, like I think lateness is a factor too. People being burned on late books, if they've even gotten them at all. So that's a big factor.
So let me ask this. I mean, how many campaigns have you backed between Indiegogo?
Indiegogo and Kickstarter combined, I remember I told Sean this. Sean said I was full of shit, but I was. This is truthful. I've backed well over 100 campaigns.
So I'm at 120. So
okay.
What percentage have not come to you yet, and what percentage is never going to come to you? Those are 2 different numbers, right? Those are 2 different numbers. I'll give you an example of what I mean by this. If I back Citizen or Prey of Sinner or whatever book, we can pick another person's book. I'm trying to figure. So my friend Chris Brown just launched a board game, Gods of Metal. So if I back Gods of Metal, that book hasn't come to me, but there's also 27 days left. So we can't count that book as being late because the campaign is still on. So, or even if the date is September, until September passes, that book is on schedule or that game is on schedule. So I don't count those. Those are just in escrow, for lack of a better word. If the book was supposed to be delivered to me in September and it is April, you are fucking late.
Yeah, no, I agree. We set our deadline for our book at October this year. So, and Aurelio knows our book will be out by at least Halloween, October. It will be in people's hands.
My point, going back to my question, is that the reason why I asked this is that what percentage of those 100, let's say you backed 150, are you're never gonna get? What number are you never gonna get? Because I have a number in my head of the ones that I will never get.
I'll never get. Honestly, I was pretty careful with mine. It's less than 1%. I'll say I'll never get. Probably one, maybe less. But ones that are late, it's well over 50, 60% of them.
I would say I backed about 125. I think there's 4 that I will never get.
Okay.
So it's more than 1%, but it's not terrible. Of all the things. It's not terrible, but I know for a fact I'm never going to get these 4 campaigns. And if I get them one day in the mail, I am going to be shocked. I'm going to be absolutely shocked. I'm going to find it very, very interesting. That I'm going to be like, this book was from 6 years ago. Like, I guess the person did it. So, but the reason why I bring this up is that those 4 that I backed, we're talking about maybe $150 over 6 years on Kickstarter. So it's not a huge amount of money, but it's $150 nonetheless.
Yeah.
And every time I don't get a campaign and I know I get screwed, I shut down for 3 weeks. So if it just so happens that I'm a big backer, and let's say that I didn't back, 125 then, but I backed 1,025, that percentage is going to be much larger. It's going to be a lot more money. And there's going to get a point where I say, this is ridiculous. And this is how I'm feeling. This is why I'm slowing down. And I'm like, I don't want to back people's campaigns. I don't have a problem with your book. I just don't trust a lot of people anymore in this space.
And that's this disappointment. And that's where creators like me who are using Kickstarter, who are afraid of, I know me for being late. Like, I don't want to be late and have my backers, to either want refunds or to not come back for issue 2, because I want people to be able to trust us producing a product on time. You're going to get it on time, and we're going to launch the next issue. You're going to come back because you can remember, oh my God, that was a pleasant experience. This is a quality product. They brought it on time. I will definitely be back for issue 2. There are several factors to it, and it's just I think a lot of creators don't have those goals in mind.
Yeah, no, I again, I think it's a business problem. I think it's a shipping problem. I think it's an operations and logistics problem.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. A lot of the creators, the crowdfunders on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, they see that money and they just like, all right, time to celebrate. Let's go have fun. And then it's like, oh, we actually got to produce a book now. Oh crap, what are we gonna do?
I mean, you feel free to challenge me on this, but what I think happened in COVID, which is why the whole system got fucked up, is people didn't have money and they put their hand in the cookie jar and took a little bit of those funds, and then you have to repay those funds back. And I think that's what happened. And then I think what also happens is that somebody has 4 books, right? They do book 1, and then they do book 2, and then book 2 pays for book 1, or they have Series A, Series B, Series C, and Series D, and Series B is paying for A, C is paying for B, D is paying for C, and A goes back to pay for D, and then they keep repeating the process, and that works, and that's essentially growing out of debt. But what happens when B doesn't fund? Yeah. Because it gets harder. The resistance level of funding your campaign gets harder, whether it's just you used to fund in a week, now you're funding in 2 weeks, or people have less money, or your average backer doesn't grow in value, or you only grow by 20 backers when you were expecting to grow by 50. And then all of a sudden, B doesn't pay for A. You still have to produce A and B. Then you get to C, and that pays for A, and now you're behind by 2. And
yeah,
so
it's that robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's it's what we kind of call it. So we called it at Merck, robbing Peter to pay Paul. But which it's true. It happens a lot. It's unfortunate. I hope it never happens with me. With the work I'm doing, I don't want it to. So I'd love each book to be successful on its own. I'd hate to have one to be paying for the other one. But I do understand there are successful titles and there are other unsuccessful titles. Some pay to have those books made because they're the good products. But the COVID money, that's absolutely true. There were those COVID loans, the small business loans that went out, and when it came time to pay those back, a lot of those businesses were like, "Oh, I have to pay that back." I mean, that wasn't just a one time take whatever you want. I got to actually pay that back. Yeah, I think that got lost, and a lot of them went belly up.
A lot of them went belly up. A lot of people didn't understand it. And then there was also a bunch that got forgiven because if you maintained 60 more employees and you were smart about how you put employees on and you actually understood it, I did not have a COVID load. Thank God. It would have been a disaster. But the whole point is that I think that there's a real problem right now. And look, I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but I also think on Kickstarter, there's variant traps. I think there's artist traps. I think that if I love Paul Green, but if you put Paul Green in your book, but then he disappears for 2 campaigns and you put him back on, those 2 campaigns that he's not there, you lose those Paul Green fans. And I think that's a real issue. And then when artists start raising their rates, I mean, I'm sure a bunch of people who have raised their rates. We don't have to mention who they are. We don't have to mention who they are. I'll tell you who I know, and you'll tell me who you know who raised their rates privately. But I know somebody who just raised their rates by 25%. So, and then there's also an issue where, like, there gets a point where they're also all over the place, and it's kind of like you're on 10 campaigns and you just raised your rates, and I can't be paying you X amount of money and break even if you're not exclusive and you've saturated the market. And then that creates a whole problem because there's fans who want it, but now they're more expensive. And then this becomes a whole issue where art's more expensive, printing is more expensive, writing is more expensive, producing all the goodies are more expensive, and then creative services collectively have gotten more expensive, and then time has gotten more expensive. And I'll throw one in there this show's relatively free. This has gotten more expensive for people because guess what? I legitimately have 50 people in the last 90 days asked me on my show.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I don't want all 50 of them. I want maybe 20 of them at best, because the 50 that are asking, and I'm going to sound like an asshole, and I understand not everybody's ready for prime time. Not everybody is a good guest, and not everybody has a book that A is going to fund, or even if it does fund, it's going to do $1,200. And then I got to put that you on, or do I have somebody whose book is a coin toss? It's hard. It's hard. It's not fun. And these are business decisions. And this is becoming more expensive because I know so many people say, I can't get on shows. And I'm like, I don't have a guest problem.
And, and that's one thing when doing Unholy Nightmare, Aurelio and I knew how competitive this market is. And we knew if we're producing a comic book, it's got to stand out. It has to. But at the same time, we knew we're doing this on a budget. So he and I, we called in every favor we had. I begged and pleaded for artists, for good rates, friend rates, just frequent buyer rates. But fortunately, I got some great covers at great rates. I really truly believe there are a lot of talented people out there that no one knows about. There are a lot of great artists that are just waiting for that one shot to be exposed. And I like to think that we found one with and he's done work, but Joe Ball is one artist that we worked with on Unholy Nightmare. He did a cover for us, and he just killed it. And I really hope this cover work that it really gives him more opportunities in the future. And we're going to be using him again. I know, definitely, because he's amazing. But I really truly believe you can find what you want for your price range. You can. It can be done.
You have to get creative.
Yes, absolutely. You have to.
Where I'll throw something out there that and anybody could steal it. If you find an artist who needs that opportunity, you can figure out a back end deal, or you could say, hey, look, if you know an artist does a lot of cons, you might be able to say to your artist, look, if you give me a little bit of a discount, I will print X amount extra and I will just give you those that you could sell at your table, because exchanging merch is very helpful. When I ran my campaign with the cosplayer, there was no economic transaction. Instead, we came to a splitting metal cards, and he was starting to go and have tables at conventions. So now he has 60 metal cards that he sells for $10 that no other cosplayer has. And so think about that, right? He has $600 worth of merch.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Instead of me having to pay him, which meant that I got more money and I have my metal card set that was produced. So now he has merchandise, which could be just as valuable, because when you're selling them for $10 or $15 or $12 a pop and people are buying, it's like, oh, that's a metal card. What's that? I've never seen a cosplayer do that. All of a sudden, that's what you have. And now he actually has a piece of merchandise that didn't cost him a penny. So
you can make a high profit of something that didn't cost you much to make, if at all. There you go. That's how you do it.
And so I think a lot of people just aren't creative. But you mentioned something about calling in favors. I think there is a lack of that too right now in comics. I mean, I could tell you that, and this is just me griping, but I think it's relevant, is that there's a lot of people that I've stuck out my neck for early on, maybe during COVID, who don't speak to me anymore, don't understand how to return favors, don't understand how to make introductions to people. And I think it's a real problem, where I think a lot of people in comics do not understand that if I interviewed you, you should throw me a solid. A solid could be a lot of things. It could be, first and foremost, if you don't send me a digital copy of your book, that's just pitiful. That's just sad. That's not costing you a penny if I've interviewed you. And that goes for everybody, by the way. That's just not you personally, but that's just pitiful, because that's the bare minimum. But if you can introduce me to an artist, or introduce me into a group, or introduce me to something or somebody, and I think people forget that you have to repay favors. And I think it's a real issue. And I think there's an issue of people being grateful in this industry, where you go down a lot of favors to get your book done, the first one on a budget. And at some point, you're going to have to repay those favors.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of heartless people in this industry who don't appreciate that time, that effort, that favor you did for them, that helping someone out. They really don't appreciate that. They don't see that, which is heartbreaking, which is disappointing. But for me, at least, I've told different creators, artists, and all that, say, hey, if you do a decreased rate, if you had a story you wanted to tell, if you need an editor to look over your work, if you need someone to help you with some prose, I will gladly do that for free if you do the cover for me, at a discount rate. And hey, it's worked. I won't say with who, but hey, it's been great. And if I can get a great cover for just that, I'll do that any day of the week.
Yeah, no, I again, I've figured out how to eliminate people systematically. And again, it is, you have to repay favors all the time to people, one way or the other. And there's going to get discussion points where certain people are now coming back in, and you've been on my show 5 times and you've never, ever, ever reciprocated with me. And when they ask for something, it's going to be, and I'm going to say that there's going to be a price tag attached to it. and it's going to be, and I'm going to say, you got to realize that you put yourself here. I'm sorry that you've been on my show 5 times. You've never, ever introduced me to anybody. You haven't invited me on your show. Like, we are now in an economic arrangement, and they could choose if they want to engage or not. But that's how I feel, is that if you don't reciprocate after years and years and years and years and years, ignore me for 3 years after, and then want to come back, I mean, that's where we're at. And nobody's forcing anybody and pointing a gun at their head. But again, that's how I feel, is that, again, just it's a personal pet peeve for me, because I think a lot of people need to learn that you have to give to get. And I think it's a real problem now in comics.
No, it really is. Yeah.
So that's how I feel. And again, I'm in a different space in which this is creative services at its finest. It's an interview. And again, there's a reason why when 50 people ask me and I'm taking 20, what is that, 40% at best? And I don't even know if I took it. Technically, I didn't even take 20. I've done 29 interviews, and I've legitimately done 4 times what I did last year in the last 90 days with half the amount of work on YouTube and Facebook and social media wise, which is crazy. So I've done with half the amount of interview work, I've done double my viewership, and I've done quadruple my watch hours.
That's awesome. If you can top product with the least amount of work, there you go. You can't beat that.
And I made more money than I did last year. So
that's amazing.
The show where I am technically, I've broken even for my expenditures, and I bought enough to buy a 6-pack.
Well, what kind of 6-pack? Are we talking like Natty Ice, or are we talking some like good dark ale beer, some like local brew stuff?
I mean, technically it's not a 6-pack. It's a 4-can. but it's like Pipeworks. It's a good beer. It's Ninjas vs Unicorns. It's a double IPA.
Okay.
So it's like 8%er. So it's like a $17, for 4. It's not bad.
Yeah. Okay. Not bad. Yeah.
But the fact that my expenses are like $300 a year to run this. So the fact that I am even, and that sponsorship and the few that are expiring in June paid for it, that means I still have 6 months. So that's the key, is that I broke even within 6 months, and I'm going to have another 6 months of sponsorship, give or take, that'll push me further. That'll catch me up for starting for 2025.
That's awesome. You're in a great position.
That's how I feel, and that's why I can pick and choose, in which that I tried the Kickstarter out. I did fun on Kickstarter, but I want complete control. And I think it's a very, very important thing to be able to have complete control over creative work.
Oh, it is. That's one thing I truly love now. Working with Aurelio, because he and I, we have the final vote. He and I, it's like we're both like in the same mind, which is great. We have complete control over the story. We have our great editor Aaron Sparrow, and all that. He's fantastic.
Oh no, we can't talk about Darkwing Duck, right?
Yeah, that Aaron Sparrow, Darkwing Duck, Aaron Sparrow. Yeah,
no, that's why I brought it up. I was joking.
Okay. But yeah, he's a great guy. He's a great friend. He's amazing. And we both take his advice. There's a lot of stuff that we take. There's some stuff that we may alter a bit or we don't take. But it's great having him on board. He's fair, objectionable. He knows he knows the story that we want to tell. So that's what's important.
No. It is important, and I agree. In which I have complete control over this show, and I have complete control over a lot of stuff. Now I do have partnerships with people where I have a joint podcast with somebody, and it's an equal controlling thing. But again, it's still like this here. This is my show. It's not anybody else's. And if anybody thinks it is, you're just wrong.
So it's not like Wayne's World, where you have the sponsors. Brought to you by Noah's Arcade.
No. I've turned down sponsors. I turned down sponsors, and I was very happy that I turned down the sponsors, because I didn't believe in it. I didn't believe in said creative services. It's not a secret who I turned down. I have no problem. I nothing against marketing, but I just didn't like them, and I didn't like what they were doing. And I heard both good and bad things, and I felt that I was unsure, so I decided not to take them on as a sponsor.
Sounds fair to me.
And I didn't like it. And Preston Poulter, Pocket Jack, I'm just advertising a comic that's a solid comic. On something else, Gods of Metal, it's a board game, right? You see it in my micro content, me just talking about it. saying, hey, it's available on Kickstarter. You can go check it out, right? Or live read. So if you were to advertise with me and you have a Kickstarter going on, I'm just saying, hey, Dolan's book is live on Kickstarter. It's a fun book. You give me a little spiel. And then I'm not to some degree I'm endorsing it, but I'm just letting people know, hey, you might like this product. It's no different than Coca-Cola coming on during the Super Bowl. It's no different than that.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not going to go take a sponsor where you're not going to see me going advertising. I'm trying to think of something that doesn't fit. So comic supplies, no problem advertising it. But if a company shipped you shitty comic supplies and was known for it, or if there was a printer that 80% of their print run was shitty and they're not going to refund you, I'm not going to advertise with them. They're not coming on my show, right?
Yeah.
I mix them as a sponsor. It's very important to understand that if I'm going to steer people who need services, that's a whole different ballgame.
No, I agree. It's good to have that, and just not sponsoring a product that people know. It's like, are you kidding me? You're talking about promoting how you believe in this, but you're promoting a product that doesn't provide any of that at all. Yeah, no, it's good to have that. It's not many people can do that in the YouTube sphere.
Again, if Coca-Cola came and said, Andrew, we want you to drink a Coca-Cola during our thing, is Coca-Cola good for you? Not really. But do I feel? Yeah. Do I feel though that I'm being unethical? No, because Coca-Cola is not good for you, but it's also Coca-Cola, right?
Yeah.
But like when we look at creative services, I have to actually look at people's track records. And I think it's very important. I think it's a real problem. I mean, I personally think it's a problem when, and I think a lot of people have sold out on Kickstarter and a bunch of other stuff. I could tell you that one of the biggest shells is that 15% off Comics Wellspring. That I could tell you everybody's campaign has it down below. Smart company.
Yeah, no one's come to us. No one's asked us about any of that stuff, so it's not going to happen with us.
No, you put their little logo down below and you get 15% off your whole print.
No, wow. No, yeah, wow. I did not know that. Wow.
Oh, they do it for everybody. I mean, brilliant. It's so smart. They're all over the place. But I digress. I digress so much. But again, I have integrity and I would rather eat the fat. Because again, if I can't find $300 a year somewhere, then I should not be doing this to run my show. And again, if a sponsor left tomorrow, I would be perfectly fine for a while, and I would just go back to self-funding it and running it the way I want to run it, because I think in the long run I'm going to make way more money by being completely independent and controlling my destiny. And I think it's a real skill, and I think a lot of people, once they enter Hollywood optioned your book, you lose a lot of control.
Yeah, and what's weird now about that is it's a great topic. I feel like there's a lot of creatives, especially Marvel and DC, who don't want that independence. They want that corporate. They want to be working in that corporate structure where they have people telling them what to do, or they have the high editors telling them what the story is. You do the editor's bidding for the story. It's like no. It's like I wouldn't. That's never going to happen with me. I never want to write like that. We're going to be writing my story.
I'm going to challenge you a little bit. So I'll put it this way, right? Are you a wrestling fan by any chance?
It depends. Yeah, I know some wrestlers. I know more of the retired wrestlers now at this point.
Okay, WrestleMania is Saturday and Sunday.
Yes,
so I'm watching WrestleMania.
I know WrestleMania. Yeah, love it.
I think everybody's watching WrestleMania. It's on Peacock. It's $5. You don't have to be a wrestling fan. But my point to watch WrestleMania, enjoy it. Me and my friends are going to get drunk and watch WrestleMania, and my friends aren't wrestling fans. I'm a semi-wrestling fan, right? Yeah. I host a movie wrestling podcast every Friday night. Anybody can come on, just hit me up and DM me. And I don't know what we're talking about WrestleMania. We're going to be talking about Paul Heyman for like 2 hours. It's going to be great this week.
Did you see the movie The Iron Claw?
I did see it. I thought MJF was good in that movie.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was the best film last year. I really dug it.
I don't know if it was the best film because Barbie was pretty good.
I didn't see Barbie, but I'll take your word.
Well, you haven't lived until you saw Barbie. No. There was a bunch of good movies last year. Oppenheimer was good. Technically, it was Oppenheimer last year. I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought Oppenheimer was good. I thought Killers of the Flower Moon was beautifully shot. I thought it was just too fucking long.
Yes, it was way too long.
The joke is that Leo entered with his girlfriend, and by the time he left at the premiere, she was too old for him. That's not even my joke. That's Ricky.
No, he's notorious for dating younger women, but fortunately, they're all of age in his case.
Yeah, hey, Leo did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong.
He did nothing wrong. Yeah.
That 4-hour movie.
Yeah.
But my point is that if I had the ability to write, and WWE said, Andrew, why don't you to write for WWE? And you can't really do anything else, and we're going to give you guidance, and you don't own anything you write, but I would take the job, right? So
I don't know if I could do that. That'd be pretty. I mean, for me, that would be like selling out.
Well, while you're under contract, you can't do anything else. But you're getting a salary. You're getting to work on cool properties. You're getting to be in an environment. You're getting to see product be made into television. You're getting to write a storyline, and you're getting to write, a feud with a bunch of wrestlers and a bunch of moving parts. And
but
the reason why
that's true, but at the same time, you don't have the final word at the very last. At that last minute, you as a writer don't have that in that situation. Don't have the final word, which sucks.
So fine. I'll revise it slightly. If you had the ability to write for Saturday Night Live, right? But you could still.
Oh God. I'll just say, hearing the horror stories about the writers' room at Saturday Night Live, hearing like the Jim Brewer horror stories, what it's like, and the Phil Hartman horror stories, like I don't know if I could ever want to write for them.
Larry David, right? What happened with him?
Yeah.
He used to write for SNL.
Yep.
He said none of my skits are chosen. He just said "fuck you," and then he just left. And then he called him like, "Larry, what the fuck did you just do?" And then he just the next day just walked in and he pretended nothing happened.
Which became an episode of Seinfeld, and I think there was one skit of Larry's I do know that did air on Saturday Night Live. It was one skit he wrote. It was it was with Ed Begley Jr. was the host. It was about this elevator tenant. Like, are we going to give the elevator guy a bench, or we want the elevator guy standing? We want the guy who runs the elevator to be sitting or standing. That was the whole skit. The whole skit centered around that.
But my whole point is that if I got the ability, also if I was a stand-up comic and I lived in New York and I got to write for SNL, there gets a point where it's like, okay, cool, I could do a bunch of other stuff, but I have a paid gig here. And I think that there is a point where, and the reason why this relates to comics is that if I had the ability to write Teen Titans for 12 issues or 50 issues, you are building up your name. And if you have one of the top selling books or even a shitty book at DC or Marvel, you're building up a resume. And then if all of a sudden you get to go to cons and you get to do a bunch of cool stuff, the second you leave, you worked for DC. And if you understand how to leverage it, and that's why I think a lot of creators, I know plenty of people in indies who are building a portfolio and they just want to work for Marvel. Not because they want to work for Marvel. They want to get to Marvel, build up their name, make themselves important, have more leverage and more clout, and then transfer that clout over because they've seen this done with people like Tom King, Scott Snyder, James Talion, what the fourth, I think he is. Other people like that, Jim Lee, yes and no, kind of, Rob Liefeld's done this, where all of a sudden these people are selling a lot of product and a lot of stuff, whether that's on Whatnot, whether that's elsewhere, and they're making tons of bags of cash because they got to work for DC, Marvel, had major runs, and then they leave, and then they do their own shit, and then they go on Whatnot.
They left because they knew, they saw, they knew the leverage that they had, and two, they saw they wanted their own creative freedom. That was the other thing that they wanted. It wasn't the main thing, but it was one of the things that they wanted. And I agree with them. And that's why, not to toot my own horn, but if Marvel or DC ever came to me and asked me to write something for them, I would say no. Unless you're giving me creative control, unless I have the final word on the story, I'm not writing for you. It's not going to happen. I don't care.
I don't know. I want to write Teen Titans West. Give me 6 issues, DC Black Label.
And I can understand like if because there are a lot of younger writers in the industry. There are a lot of them who are in their 20s who will gladly do that. At the drop of a hat, they'll gladly do that. But me at this point, no, unless I have the final word, unless I'm telling the story I want to tell, I'm not doing it. I can't because that's you're prohibiting creativity.
I'll put it this way: if I created a book, right, I'm going to maximize because I don't know if I want to do comics. Honestly, I'm perfectly happy just selling books. I think I can make more money and I can make a boatload of money. I have a 9-to-5 job, and I'll be real honest. I can go on eBay and I could sell hundreds of thousands of dollars of books, and that's where I'm inching towards. And I'm going to be moving a lot of books, and I buy a lot of books, and I'm happy, and I'm planning to get really, really wealthy. And then I'll take that money, my profits, invest in the stock market, and I will turn active income into passive income and sleep fine at night. So I don't know if I want to do a book because it seems like a lot of work. But if I was to do it, I would rather have a bunch of variants, release a variant every other month or every quarter. And then if I run 2 Kickstarters a year, in between those Kickstarters, you're releasing a variant on month 5 and then month 7. And then you run the Kickstarter month 8. And then month 10, you're releasing a variant. And then you're delivering the Kickstarter in month 1 of the following year. And in between, you're keeping your book relevant by releasing special edition variants all along. And you now have a really viable business. And I think that's the thing, too, that a lot of people don't get is that you can make a lot of money if you know what you're doing and you actually have a battle plan and you understand your audience. So I think it's just a matter of, are you doing this because you want to feel good and special? And you want to see your book, and then maybe you want to be at a con, you want the Marvel treatment or the DC treatment, or you want to be like, I wrote for DC. I don't know. I want to be paid, and I want to be paid well. I'm sorry. That's how
it's fair, and I think you could honestly be paid better, paid more by going independent, by going through Kickstarter and Indiegogo. But we'll see. It's more of a gamble, but you don't have that backing, that security. You're gambling on yourself.
That is true. Unfortunately, and I'm going to say this, is that there are people who are really good at business and there are people who are really bad at business, and we see both of those on Kickstarter.
Yes, we do.
Funding, and we see it. And maybe this is going back to late books. Maybe this is why books are late. Maybe this is part of it.
It 100% is true, and that's a tale that goes. That's as far back as when comic books started. I forget who said it. I wish I could remember, but like it may have been Archie Goodwin. It may someone had said that it's very seldom, very rare. Maybe it's Stan Lee. It's very seldom or rare that you're able to find both an artist and a businessman in the same person. It's very, very rare.
Well, the saying is that you could have only 2 out of the 3 things, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I mean, it's for healthcare, right? That's where that came from. You can only have 2 out of the 3 guys. But it's interesting. And look, I mean, I know campaigns that do 40, 60, 80,000, and those books are still late because you're doing $80,000, but you have a lot of variants, you have a lot of components, you have a lot of other shit, and all of a sudden you're printing a lot of books. You're not making 80,000. You're and more money, more books and more money creates more problems in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, more money, more problems. Yeah, that's what happens.
Should I order the number 6 or the number 3?
Why not both?
That's the great lyric from John Cena. The infamous philosopher John Cena, one of the greats. He has a rap lyric when he did his whole rap CD.
Wow.
Album, not a good one. Not his best work. Let's just say putting Edge through 2 tables in Toronto was much better than his rap album. But I digress. I digress massively. I do want to back out of all this, and I do want to talk about Disney because I disagree with your philosophy on Disney and Star Wars. I don't. Sure. What did you say?
I'm not sure what exactly. I'm trying to recall what my philosophy is on Disney and Star Wars.
I think it doesn't really matter what Disney does to Star Wars.
Oh,
I don't really care. I don't think they could break it any more than they already did. I think they have broken it, fixed it, and re-broke it, that it is expected to be broken over and over and over again. And it doesn't really matter because they only need to be right 2 out of the 10 times they present something. So the other 8 times could fail, but only 2 need to be right. So Disney only has to be right twice. If they fail all 10 times of their next 10 projects with Star Wars, that's a failure. If they get 2 out of the 10, they win. That's my philosophy on Disney with Star Wars.
For me, I mean, honestly, this is just my, like I said, in my opinion, I think Star Wars is a dead brand right now. I want nothing to do with Star Wars. The Star Wars I knew ended with Return of the Jedi, honestly, and or better yet, Episode 3. That's where it ended. And ever since George sold, it's not the same. And with everything being done by committee, and not by the one person, not the one vision, that it's lost that creativity. And that comics movies and a product by corporation, and I don't like that.
Andor was okay.
That's the one. Like I like I said, so Book of Boba Fett pissed me off. Obi-Wan really pissed me off. And then I was so burned and pissed that I didn't check out Andor. Like people were saying, "Oh, it's so great, so great!" Like, no, I've been burned twice so far. I'm not checking this out. No. But I like to watch the regular media guys on YouTube, and they just did a video talking about Andor. And I'm like, you know what? I may have to check out Andor now.
That was good. And then like the last stuff of what was it? Like Rebels was good and Clone Wars was good. That stuff was good. All was great.
I never saw. I never watched. I don't think I ever watched Rebels. I know people loved it. I wasn't a fan of that animation. I know people love the show, but hey, I did see the Clone Wars. I did see some episodes here and there. I did see the episodes. I think the Samurai Jack art team did the episodes, but that's going back years.
They did the cartoons that were in between on Cartoon Network, I think.
Yes,
and those were good. And there's some other stuff that was really good. And you get like Palpatine fighting, and then you get like Darth Maul fighting and his brother, and like you just get everything you want. Because between episodes 2 and 3, there's like 18 months. And there's wars between the separatists and the Republic, which didn't turn into the Empire yet. So
yes.
You get a lot of cool shit going on, and you get a lot of politics going on, and they could have gone deeper. And there's some good stuff in there, and like all 6 or 7 of those seasons, it's good stuff. But also, it's not ruled by committee. They had a vision from start to finish. It's not the new shit. But then again, I have a different opinion on Star Wars. I think Star Wars is a lively brand. I think they can do whatever they want with it. And there's so much stuff going on that it doesn't really matter, because all the bad shit we forget about. I don't know if we forget the bad shit. I don't think we'll forget the Rise of Palpatine or The Last Jedi. I don't know what you're talking about. I genuinely have. I mean, I remember The Force is Awakened, and then I remember the last thing I remember was them basically Lando Calrissian bringing in a bunch of ships to blow up a bunch of landed ships because they knocked out the communication chamber and tower, and they couldn't lift off. And that's it. That's all I remember. I don't remember anything else. I don't. I'm sorry. I legitimately the B, and then maybe I remember that Mark Hamill was like milking a cow. Like that. That's it. That's all I remember from the trilogy, the last trilogy. And again, I don't think I'm alone. I don't remember those movies at all.
I'm sure you're probably not alone, but I'm sure there are some who aren't alone on my side. Who do remember those moments in those movies and would pay anything to have those memories erased from your mind. Trust me.
All you gotta do is ask. Ask.
Please, Andrew, could you take those memories away from me?
For $500, I will wipe you clean.
Ooh.
So you're thinking about it now, right?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, yes. That's enticing offer.
It's not a ridiculous offer, but
no, it's not. No.
But I'm also a Disney stockholder, and I'm very bullish on Disney, because Disney is having an internal board fight. So,
yeah, I've been following that. Yeah, it's getting interesting.
You have to credit David for that. I watched the show they were talking about it, and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. Dividend got raised up, 3.3 billion shares being bought back. I mean, it's free money, guys. This is not financial advice. Do your own homework, but I'm very bullish on Disney. Very. But I digress. Again, I'm gonna get you and me both in trouble, but we will get rich from it, so it's all right. It's better to pay a fine to the SEC than not to have to pay the fine at all. Nobody ever pays a fine to the SEC and didn't make money. So I digress. Now that I got us both in trouble and we accomplished nothing in the last hour and a half, you're welcome. Clearly. Wait till we do like a fifth interview. Oh my gosh. So there are very few people in the 5-timers club. Very few people. And a bunch of people are not coming back to be a 6-timer. I can tell you that. There's actually a lot of people are not coming back. People have rubbed me the wrong way. But I'll put it this way: if somebody get me Shikari on, they can be a 10-timer. We'll go with that.
No, trust me. No, getting Shikari getting Shikari to do that's like a lifetime. You're a lifetimer. You know, you got the gold card membership. It's just don't worry about it.
Yeah, anytime you need anything from me.
Yeah.
I can make that joke because for those who don't know, and I think I can say it, Shikari is a very introverted person, extremely introverted. Where Shikari is very public on social media, but extremely introverted. And whoever gets Shikari to America at a Comic-Con, oh my god,
they are going to be they're a millionaire. They will be a millionaire if they are able to get him.
Whoever could pull it off will clean probably about $5 million at New York Comic-Con. Easy. But I digress. Now that I got us all fired and in trouble, I know you got like something else to do in like 20 minutes, so I'm gonna let you get out of here. But I do want to give you a chance to self-promote yourself. Where can people find you, bother you, support the campaign, all that fun stuff? Check out what you're doing, what's next, that cool, entertaining stuff.
So you can find me on Facebook as Dolan Waddick. You can find me on Instagram as Dolan_Waddick. I talk nothing but comics, and I love it. Please back Pray for the Sinner #6. It is on Kickstarter right now. We've got, I think, 4 days left. Getting closer to $30,000. We appreciate you guys. Murat appreciates it. I appreciate it. And this may or may not be the last time you see Sin, but we'll see what happens later this year. Unholy Nightmare, if you want to check that out, you can pre-order it right now. It was fully funded on Kickstarter. We're finishing the book right now. I think Aurelio has 11 pages to go, then we're done. And there's more coming down the pike. A lot more to be announced later this year, so stay tuned. This will not be the last time you'll hear from me.
No, and I'm going to keep saying it. You have to support people when they're doing crowdfunders, when they're producing a book, when they're pushing out books, all that fun stuff. You have to support it. Obviously, Kickstarter and pledging anything from $1 to any other amount you want to is always helpful for a lot of people, because if you like something, you have to physically and economically support it. And even go further, let's say money's tight for whatever reason, or you're uncertain. Digital backing is also very good, as well as sharing it out, telling people, putting it up on your Facebook wall, putting it up on Twitter, where Instagram, interviewing, mentioning it on a podcast always helps in a lot of ways, because it goes a long way. And then following people on social media is a really big thing too, because that's how you get notified, as well as email lists or however they communicate with people. So you got to do that. And then as far as I'm concerned, obviously I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter/X, Pop Anime Comics on Instagram, Pop Anime Comics on Facebook, Pop Anime Comics on YouTube. And I'm doing good on YouTube. I got a lot of fun polls and a lot of fun, image polls coming out every single day. And there might be one relating to you going on right now. So Just letting you know that it's up there. So you can vote for your favorite Born of Blood cover up on the YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, you click the little community button and you could cast your vote for what you like. And you don't know what's going to come out, and a lot of fun stuff. And apparently people are really liking it. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing on YouTube. TikTok is Pop Anime Comics. eBay is right here, everybody. If you are looking for comics and collectibles, come shop with us on eBay. And you can see this cute little elf. And it is Pop Anime Comics Collectibles. So if you type in Pop Anime Comics Collectibles on eBay or Pop Anime Comics, I will appear. And I guarantee you cool things like this will be available for you to purchase. But people are telling me they can't see it. They can't see this card. And I got 10 of them. And I don't know. And I called Leaf Metal and like, where's the card? And I'm like, I don't see it. They're like, we don't see it either. But we shipped it to you. It was heavy. We paid $10 to ship to you, and we don't know what's in there. And I shipped one out to a customer. He's like, I can't see this. It's just terrible. The whole thing's terrible. So you can purchase things like that, as well as books like this in pure holofoil. I have all 15 of those. These are also coming in pure holofoil. So that is something that you can find on my website. And you might be able to pull something like this up there. But technically, that's not the one. That's a great one. That's a great cover. And so stuff like that, you will be able to purchase from me on my eBay store, as well as a lot of Xenoscope, a lot of Mount Olympus, a lot of Merc, and a bunch of other stuff. And I do technically have a very cool book here. And this book right here. And I bought all 10 of these. So, yes, I do buy print runs, guys. And this is number 1. And technically, this is an error book, because there's only 10 of them, but it says 1 of 20. So there you go. But that's everything that I got going on, and I will give you the final word.
I hope you guys please support us. Please support Andrew. Please support myself. I'm an independent creator, and if you guys have been burned by the mainstream, check out Unholy Nightmare. Check out everything Marat Michaels and I are doing at Counterpoint Entertainment. We have a lot of great stuff coming. You will not be disappointed in the least. If you got any questions, concerns, don't be afraid to reach out to me. I talk to anyone and everyone on Facebook and Instagram.
I don't think I could have said that any better myself, buddy. And that is a wrap.